The murder of Dr. Teresa Sievers, a respected physician in Bonita Springs, Florida, shocked the community and garnered national attention due to its brutality and the subsequent revelations about those involved. Dr. Sievers, known for her work in integrative medicine, was killed in her own home in June 2015. Her tragic death unveiled a deeply disturbing narrative of betrayal, financial greed, and orchestrated violence. Dr. Teresa Sievers was widely regarded as a dedicated physician and a cherished member of her community in Bonita Springs, Florida. Born on October 29, 1971, she grew up with a strong sense of purpose and a commitment to helping others. Her early life was marked by a supportive family environment that nurtured her academic and professional aspirations. Dr. Sievers was married to Mark Sievers, and together they had 2 children. The Sievers family was known for their close-knit and supportive relationships. They enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle in Bonita Springs, reflecting both their professional success and personal contentment. Their home was a hub of family activity, and Dr. Sievers' dedication to her family was evident in her active involvement in their lives and interests. Professionally, Dr. Sievers was recognized for her commitment to holistic health and wellness. Her practice was a reflection of her passion for integrative medicine, a field that combines conventional medical treatments with alternative therapies to address the overall well-being of patients. This approach allowed her to offer a more comprehensive and personalized form of care, focusing not only on treating symptoms, but also on enhancing overall health through a balanced and holistic approach. Dr. Sievers' background in holistic health and her dedication to her family were central to her identity. Her life and career were characterized by a deep commitment to both her professional and personal responsibilities, making her a respected and valued member of her community. Dr. Teresa Sievers' educational journey was characterized by a strong focus on integrative medicine, a discipline that blends conventional medical practices with complementary and alternative therapies. She pursued her medical education with the intention of creating a holistic approach to healthcare, which integrates both standard medical treatments and alternative practices. Dr. Sievers earned her medical degree from a recognized institution where she received comprehensive training in traditional medical practices. This foundational education covered a broad range of conventional medical knowledge, including diagnostics, pharmacology, and therapeutic interventions. Her early training provided her with a solid grounding in the principles of modern medicine, preparing her to address a wide array of health issues. Following her initial medical training, Dr. Sievers specialized in integrative medicine, a field that emphasizes the importance of treating the whole person. This specialization involved extensive education in complementary therapies such as acupuncture, herbal medicine, nutritional counseling, and stress management techniques. The integrative approach she studied aimed to address not only the physical aspects of health, but also the emotional and psychological dimensions. Her education in integrative medicine included coursework and clinical training that highlighted the interplay between mind, body, and spirit. This comprehensive education allowed her to offer a unique and multifaceted approach to patient care. Dr. Sievers' training enabled her to combine evidence-based conventional treatments with alternative therapies, thereby providing a more holistic and personalized approach to healthcare. Overall, Dr. Sievers' educational background was marked by a commitment to integrating diverse medical practices, which distinguished her in the field of healthcare. Her training and specialization in integrative medicine equipped her with the skills and knowledge to deliver a broad spectrum of care, focusing on the overall well-being of her patients. Dr. Teresa Sievers' professional career was distinguished by her commitment to holistic and integrative medicine, a field that combines conventional medical practices with alternative therapies to treat the whole person rather than just symptoms. Based in Bonita Springs, Florida, Dr. Sievers believed in treating the patient as a whole, rather than just focusing on isolated symptoms or conditions. Her practice garnered a reputation for compassionate care, which contributed to her growing patient base. Patients valued her personalized approach, which involved thorough consultations and a focus on preventive care. Dr. Sievers' ability to combine traditional and alternative medicine made her stand out in her field, and her commitment to her patients' overall well-being earned her respect and admiration from both colleagues and those she treated. Dr. Sievers was seen as a pioneer in her field, incorporating cutting-edge techniques and a holistic philosophy into her practice. Her dedication to improving her patients' quality of life extended beyond the confines of standard medical practice, reflecting her belief in a more comprehensive approach to healthcare. This innovative and patient-centered approach was central to her career and contributed to her esteemed reputation within the medical community. On June 29, 2015, the discovery of Dr. Teresa Seavers' body in her Bonita Springs home was a profound and shocking event. Dr. Seavers, a well-respected physician, had been violently murdered in what was later revealed to be a meticulously planned crime. She was found in the kitchen area of her home, a location that became the scene of an unthinkable act of brutality. Dr. Seavers had been bludgeoned to death with a hammer, an instrument chosen for its capacity to cause severe trauma. The forensic evidence indicated that the attack was both violent and deliberate. She sustained multiple blunt force injuries to her head and body, which resulted in her death. The extent of the injuries suggested that the assailant was driven by intense rage or a strong personal motive, rather than a random act of violence. The attack on Dr. Seavers was characterized by its brutality and the high level of violence involved. The crime scene was described as chaotic and horrifying, with significant bloodshed and damage indicating a struggle. This violent nature pointed to the murder being a premeditated act rather than an impulsive crime. Mark Seavers, Dr. Seavers' husband, was the one to discover her body upon returning from a trip. His return to find his wife murdered added another layer of tragedy to the situation. The initial shock and horror were compounded by the violation of a personal and intimate space, her home, which should have been a sanctuary of safety and peace. The emotional and psychological impact on Mark Seavers, along with their two young children, was profound. The community's reaction was one of disbelief and deep sadness. Dr. Seavers was a beloved figure, known for her compassionate work and dedication to her patients. The nature of her death and the violation of her home caused a ripple of fear and mourning among those who knew her. The brutal nature of the crime, coupled with the betrayal of someone close, created a sense of insecurity and grief in the local community. The shockwaves from Dr. Seavers' murder extended beyond her immediate family to the broader community and beyond. Her death prompted a substantial outpouring of sympathy and support from friends, colleagues, and neighbors. The brutality of the crime and the violation of her personal space left an indelible mark on those who knew her and contributed to a heightened sense of vulnerability and concern within the community. The investigation into Dr. Teresa Seavers' murder commenced promptly after her body was discovered on June 29, 2015. Given the violent nature of the crime, law enforcement initially focused on individuals within her close circle, particularly her family and associates. The crime scene revealed evidence of a brutal attack, prompting investigators to scrutinize the circumstances surrounding her death closely. Investigators quickly noted inconsistencies in the statements made by Mark Seavers, who was the first to discover his wife's body. His accounts of the events surrounding the murder did not align with the physical evidence at the scene. These discrepancies raised red flags and directed scrutiny towards him. As the investigation progressed, detectives employed a range of techniques, including forensic analysis, interviews, and surveillance reviews. Forensic evidence such as fingerprints, DNA, and the violent nature of the crime suggested that it was not a random act of violence, but a planned execution. Surveillance footage and phone records were examined, revealing suspicious patterns and connections. The probe into Mark Seavers' background and his financial situation unveiled a motive for the crime he stood to gain significantly from his wife's life insurance policies. Further investigation exposed a detailed plan involving Mark and two accomplices, Curtis Wayne Wright and Jimmy Ray Rogers. Their roles in the crime were uncovered through various sources of evidence, including witness statements and communications that linked them to the conspiracy. The unraveling of this complex web of deceit led to the arrests of Mark Seavers, Wright, and Rogers. Their involvement and the premeditated nature of the crime were established through a combination of physical evidence, testimonies, and forensic analysis, ultimately revealing a meticulously planned murder driven by financial gain. In August 2015, Mark Seavers was arrested and charged with first-degree murder following a detailed investigation into the death of his wife, Dr. Teresa Seavers. The investigation uncovered evidence that Mark had planned and orchestrated the murder to benefit from his wife's life insurance policies. Law enforcement identified him as the primary conspirator in the crime. The investigation also led to the arrest of Curtis Wayne Wright and Jimmy Ray Rogers. Wright and Rogers were implicated as the individuals who executed the murder, Their arrests were based on evidence linking them to the crime scene and testimonies suggesting their involvement in the plot orchestrated by Mark Sievers. Both men faced charges related to their roles in the murder, including conspiracy and first-degree murder. Their involvement was critical in the case, and their subsequent trials would reveal further details about the crime. The motive behind Dr. Teresa Sievers' murder was fundamentally financial. Mark Sievers had taken out substantial life insurance policies on his wife, which would provide him with a significant payout upon her death. Investigators uncovered evidence showing that Mark meticulously planned the murder to ensure he would benefit from the insurance money. His financial gain was a primary motive, as the substantial sum he stood to inherit provided a compelling reason for him to orchestrate such a violent crime. This financial motive was central to the prosecution's case, illustrating how greed can drive individuals to commit heinous acts. The trial of Mark Sievers was a significant legal event, drawing considerable media attention due to its dramatic details and the high-profile nature of the crime. The prosecution presented a compelling case, revealing the meticulous planning and execution of the murder of Dr. Teresa Sievers. Key evidence included forensic data, financial records, and surveillance footage that established the conspiracy and Mark Sievers' role in orchestrating the crime. Curtis Wainwright and Jimmy Ray Rogers, who were implicated as the hitmen, testified against Mark Sievers. Their testimonies were crucial as they detailed the planning and execution of the murder, directly linking Mark to the crime. Wright, in particular, provided insights into how Mark had masterminded the plot and arranged for the murder to be carried out. In 2019, after a thorough and high-profile trial, Mark Sievers was found guilty of first-degree murder. The jury's verdict was influenced by the strong evidence and the testimonies of Wright and Rogers. Mark Sievers was sentenced to death, reflecting the severity of his crime and the premeditated nature of the murder. Curtis Wainwright agreed to a plea deal in exchange for his cooperation with the prosecution. His plea deal included a reduced sentence, which was a strategic move to secure crucial testimony against Mark Sievers. Jimmy Ray Rogers also faced legal consequences, but his trial and sentencing followed a different trajectory based on his level of involvement and cooperation. The aftermath of Dr. Teresa Sievers' murder deeply affected her family and community. Her death created a significant emotional void for her children, who lost a dedicated mother, and for friends and colleagues who had admired her both professionally and personally. The extensive media coverage of the case brought intense scrutiny and highlighted the brutal nature of the crime. It served as a stark reminder of how greed and betrayal can lead to unimaginable violence, underscoring the importance of vigilance and trust in personal relationships. The case left a lasting impact on the community, prompting discussions on safety and the darker aspects of human behavior. The murder of Dr. Teresa Sievers remains a tragic and unsettling chapter in the history of crime. Her death, driven by financial greed and betrayal, shocked her community and exposed the darkest aspects of human nature. Dr. Sievers' legacy, however, endures through her work in integrative medicine and the lives she touched through her compassionate care. The case serves as a reminder of the devastating impact of violence and the importance of addressing the underlying motives that drive such heinous acts. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you all liked it. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you will never miss any episode of our enthralling series.